When my uncle called me to his house in the middle of the night, I thought it was just about helping him move boxes. But what I found in his office was a hidden contract worth $350,000 with my father's name on it. 2 days later, my mother accused me of stealing from the family and my own father didn't defend me. That was just the beginning. My name's Mark Harris, I'm 29, and until last November, I thought I knew where I stood in my family. That night at 2:47 a.m. to be exact to prove me dead wrong. I was lying in bed in my small apartment in Baltimore when my phone buzzed. It was Uncle David. We weren't close, but he'd been a fun uncle growing up, always with a joke, always with some side hustle going. "Mark, I need you to come over," he said, his voice low and urgent. "Don't tell anyone, not even your parents." That should have been my first red flag, but I was too groggy to think. I threw on jeans, grabbed my keys, and drove the 15 minutes to his townhouse. When I arrived, he was pacing in the kitchen, a glass of whiskey in hand. The smell hit me woke and alcohol sharp enough to sting my nerves. "You're the only one I can trust," he said, leading me to his home office. He pulled out a folder from the bottom drawer of a locked file cabinet. Inside were contracts, notarized documents, and one check dated just a week ago for $350,000 made out to my father, Thomas Harris. I frowned. "What's this?" David's jaw tightened. "It's a settlement. Your dad's been hiding it from your mom. I think he plans to keep it for himself." I didn't know what to say. My dad wasn't perfect, but he was the type to grumble about buying a new toaster if the old one still worked. Hiding that much money? It didn't add up. David leaned closer. "I need you to hold on to these for me. If he finds out, I know it's over for me." The next morning, I locked the folder in my desk drawer at home. But 2 days later, my mother showed up at my apartment, eyes red from crying. "How could you?" she demanded, shoving the folder into my chest. "Your father said you stole from him, from us." I froze. "What, Mom? I didn't." She cut me off. "Don't lie to me, Mark. Your father told me everything. You're lucky we're not calling the police." I looked past her to see my father standing by the door, arms crossed, face unreadable. He didn't say a word. That was the moment I realized I'd been set up. But I had no idea why or just how deep the betrayal went. The next morning, I drove to my parents' place in Turson, hoping to clear things up. My father was in the driveway, checking the oil in his truck like nothing had happened. "Dad, can we talk?" I asked. He didn't look up. "There's nothing to talk about, Mark. You made your choices." "My choices? I didn't take anything. David gave me those papers." At the mention of David, his head snapped up. "Don't you dare drag your uncle into this. He's not the problem here." That was my second red flag. My father had never defended David before. They'd barely spoken in the last 5 years. Inside, my mother avoided my eyes, pretending to fuss with the coffee machine. My younger cousin Ethan, David's son, was at the kitchen table. He gave me a quick, almost guilty glance. Ethan muttered, "Mark, just let it go. You're making things worse." I turned to him. "You know what this is about, don't you?" He hesitated, then shook his head. But his knee was bouncing, and I could see sweat at his temples. Later that afternoon, I got a text from an unknown number. "Meet me behind the Safeway on York RD at 7 p.m. No one else. It was pouring rain when I showed up. Ethan was there, hoodie pulled tight. He glanced around before speaking. "Look, David's in trouble. He made a deal, something shady with Dad. That check, it's hush money." "Hush money for what?" I asked. Ethan swallowed hard. "I don't know all of it, but it's bad. If anyone finds out, both of them could go down. Dad's trying to pin it all on you so it looks like the money disappeared." I felt my stomach twist. "Why me?" "Because you're the one no one will believe," he said flatly. "You moved out. You're not part of the family business. You're expendable." The word hit me like a slap. Before I could respond, headlights swept across the lot. The black SUV pulled in, stopping just feet away. The window rolled down and I saw my father behind the wheel. My father didn't get out of the SUV. He just stared at me through the rain-speckled glass. Then the passenger door opened and Uncle David stepped out, holding an umbrella. "Mark," David said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes, "I hear you've been asking questions." Ethan muttered, "I should go," but David's hand shot out, grabbing his arm. "No, you stay. Both of you need to hear this." I crossed my arms. "He set me up, you gave me the folder and then told Dad I stole it." David chuckled, glancing back at the SUV. "Thomas, you hear this kid thinks we're conspiring against him." My father leaned out the window. "You walked into something you shouldn't have, Mark, and you're making it worse for yourself." "I'm making it worse?" I snapped. "You're hiding $350,000 from Mom and it." David's voice dropped low, sharp. "You have no idea what that money is for. You think it's about greed, it's survival. And if you keep talking, you're going to drag this whole family down." The rain was pounding now, soaking my jacket. My pulsated in my ears. "Then tell me what it's for." Neither of them spoke. David just pulled Ethan closer. "Go home, Mark. Drop it, or I promise you'll regret it." He ushered Ethan toward the SUV. I watched them drive off, taillights disappearing into the dark. My stomach knotted so tight it hurt. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying David's words at survival. Survival from what? Debt. Blackmail. Something worse. At 3:12 a.m, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was a blocked number. A distorted voice came through. If you want to know the truth, go to 1820 Fleet Street tomorrow and you come alone. I stared at the screen long after the call ended, heart hammering. I didn't recognize the voice, but there was something about the way they said truth that made my skin crawl. I almost didn't go. But by 11:50 a.m. the next day, I was parked outside a rundown brick building near the harbour. Inside, the air smelled of mildew and old wood. I followed a narrow hallway until I reached a small office. On the desk sat a single manila envelope with my name on it. I opened it and froze when I saw the photographs inside. The photographs were grainy, taken from a distance, but there was no mistaking the faces. My father, Uncle David, and a third man I didn't recognize, tall, bald, wearing a grey suit, passing an envelope across a diner table. The next set of photos made my throat go dry. The bald man was shaking hands with someone I did recognize, Councilman Peter Lawson, a local politician who'd been all over the news last year for a zoning scandal. But the last photo was the one that made me grip the edge of the desk. It showed my father and David in the back lot of our family's warehouse unloading crates stamped with federal customs warnings. My mind raced. My dad didn't run imports. He'd always been in construction, at least. That's what I thought. Inside the envelope, behind the photos, was a single type page. The $350,000 is payoff money. Your father and David have been moving undeclared shipments for Lawson's campaign donors. If this goes public, they both go to prison. So will anyone connected to the paper trail. I heard a creak behind me. My pulse spiked. A woman in her late 50s stepped into the doorway. Short greying hair, sharp eyes. You must be Mark. Who are you? I asked. Name's Karen. I used to work for your uncle until I found out what he was really doing. She stepped closer, her voice lowering. David killed my brother over a deal gone bad. Your father covered it up. That check. It wasn't just hush money, it was to buy his loyalty. I felt my skin crawl. Why tell me this? Karen smirked. Because you're the only one they don't control yet, but if you want proof, you're going to have to get into the safe in David's house. Before I could respond, the sound of heavy boots echoed in the hallway. Karen's eyes widened. Too late, she hissed. They found us. The office door slammed open, and two men in black raincoats stepped inside. One grabbed me by the arm, the other reached for Karen. And then a gunshot rang out. The gunshot cracked through the air, deafening in the small office. One of the men in black staggered back, clutching his shoulder. Karen stood with a small revolver in her trembling hands. Run, Mark, she shouted. I didn't think I bolted through the side door, my heart pounding so hard it blurred my vision. Rain lashed against my face as I stumbled into the alley. Behind me, I heard another shot, then silence. I didn't know if Karen was alive. I didn't even know who those men were working for David, my father, or someone else entirely. But I knew one thing, I had to get into that safe. By 10:43 p.m, I was parked 3 houses down from David's place. The curtains were drawn, the driveway empty. I knew he was out Thursday nights. He always went to the poker game at Camden Club. I slipped around the back, forcing the basement window open with a screwdriver. Inside, the air smelled faintly of cigar smoke and expensive cologne. The safe was in a study hidden behind a false wall panel. I knelt in front of it, my hands sweating as I spun the dial. Karen had given me a partial code before the gunman arrived. 1432. I tried every number I could think of. On the 4th attempt, I heard the click. Inside was a small stack of cash. 3 passports, all with David's photo but different names, in a black leather notebook. I flipped it open. Every page was filled with dates, shipment numbers, and payment records. The most recent entry caught my eye. 7/18 $1.02 MYTH confirmed delivery and will be handled. T.H. Thomas Harris. My father. Me. The room suddenly felt smaller. Handles could mean a lot of things, but I was pretty sure none of them were good. I stuffed the notebook into my jacket and turned to leave, only to freeze when I heard the front door creak open. Mark, my father's voice, cold. Calm but cold. He shouldn't be here. I stepped out of the study, clutching the notebook inside my jacket. My father stood in the hallway, rain dripping from his coat, eyes locked on me. You've been busy, he said, shutting the door behind him. I know what you're doing, I shot back. My voice was shaking, but I held his gaze. The shipment, the money, Larson, you're in deep, Dad, and you were planning to handle me. A smirk tugged at the corner of his mouth. You think you're clever, but you have no idea how the real world works. That notebook, you won't get a chance to show it to anyone. He took a slow step forward. Karen should have kept her mouth shut. Now she's gone, and you're next if you don't walk away. Bon? My stomach clenched. What did you? Don't ask questions you don't want the answer to. His voice was flat, like he was talking about taking out the trash. That coldness scared me more than if he'd shouted. I took a step back toward the study, trying to angle myself toward the back door. If you touch me, the cops get that notebook. I left copies with someone I trust. For the first time, his expression faltered. Who? I didn't answer. His jaw tightened. It doesn't matter. David's on his way, and when he gets here, we're going to fix this permanently. Our side, I heard the distant rumble of a car pulling into the driveway. Headlights swept across the wall. I darted for the back door. My father lunged, grabbing my arm. We struggled, knocking over a lamp. The crash echoed through the house. Then another voice came from the front hall, David's, sharp and irritated. What the hell is going on? I wrenched free, bolting through the kitchen. But as I threw the door open, I stopped dead. Ethan was standing there, drenched from the rain, holding a pistol pointed straight at me. Rain dripped from Ethan's hair into his eyes, but his hands didn't shake. Step back inside. Mark, he said quietly. Ethan, you don't have to do this, I told him, my voice low. You know what your dad and mine are into. You think they'll spare you when you're no longer useful. His jaw clenched. This isn't about me. From behind, David's voice beamed. It's about loyalty, something you never understood, Mark. My father stepped into the kitchen, blocking the other exit. Give me the notebook and this ends right here. For a second, the only sound was the rain against the roof and my own heartbeat. Then I looked straight at Ethan. Karen's dead because of them. How long before it's you? Something flickered in his eyes. His grip on the gun loosened just slightly. David noticed. Ethan, don't listen to him. But Ethan's gaze dropped to the floor. Is it true? Did you kill her? David's tone hardened. She left us no choice. That was it. Ethan's hands trembled now not from fear, but anger. He turned the gun on David. You said this was just business, Ethan said, voice cracking. You lied to me. My father lunged toward him, but Ethan fired a single deafening shot. David staggered back, collapsing against the counter, eyes wide in shock. I didn't wait. I grabbed the notebook, yanked Ethan toward the back door, and we ran into the storm. By 7:15 a.m. the next morning, the police had the notebook, the photos, and a full statement from Ethan. Within hours, news broke Councilman Larson, Thomas Harris, and 2 associates arrested on charges of conspiracy, racketeering, and illegal importation. My father's face was all over the TV, but he didn't look at the cameras. When they led him past me in court weeks later, he didn't even try to speak. Ethan testified against both of them, then left town for good. I don't blame him. I stayed in Baltimore, but I moved to a different part of the city. The kind of place where no one knows my last name. Some nights, I still hear the rain and the echo of that gunshot, and I think about how close I came to being handled. But most of all, I think about one thing David said that night at survival. He was right, just not in the way he meant.